Everything Everywhere All at Once. Directed by the directing duo, the Daniels. Daniel Kwan, Daniel Shiner. The movie came out back in March.
Yeah, roughly.
Crazy movie. By at this point, if you're listening to this podcast, you've likely heard us talk about it and have likely heard about Everything Everywhere All at Once just in general. This isn't like a surprise review what we're about to say about it. Everyone knows you like this movie. An aging Chinese immigrant is swept up in an insane adventure where she alone can save what's important to her by connecting with the lives she could have led in other universes. It is a multiversal movie starring Michelle Yeoh, Kiwi Kwan, who we interviewed.
Yep.
Please go listen to the interview. It's a great interview. He had some awesome emotional stuff to say about just the Hollywood industry in general, feeling jaded about it, being inspired to come back because of Crazy Rich Asians. He obviously was in The Goonies. He was Short Round in Indiana Jones. Makes a reappearance in movies, which is an awesome reappearance. Stephanie Hsu, who plays the daughter in the movie, which we'll get to in a second. You haven't seen this. It's a spoiler review. Like at this point, you have to go see it in theaters. I think it's releasing soon, though, on digital. But if you can see it, go see it. Like, go see this movie. Definitely a movie that's going to be a victim to hype. One of my favorite reviewers on the internet, Cosmonaut Variety Hour, Cosmo Picture Show, Marcus, he said it. He's like, people are already saying the movie's overrated. This is like a month after it came out. It's like people are already saying the movie's overrated. That's how you know it's a good movie. It's that hype thing. There's another interview I listened to. I forgot who said it. It was like, this is one of those movies where you start to worry. It's like there's so much hype and it's not really anywhere. Now it is, but like you don't want people to go in and like have those absurdly stupid expectations. They're like, okay, this better be the best fucking movie I've ever seen, which is happening with Top Gun, by the way. Yes. I call it the Slumdog Millionaire effect. Not that Slumdog like invented that, but for me, like when I associate movies that people didn't see until after it had all the hype, Slumdog will always be that movie for me. This movie's amazing. It's fucking incredible. It is for both myself and Ken Jack a top 100 movie that we've ever seen. It's 69 for me. It's 61 for Ken Jack. In terms of ranking, this movie is one of those movies that is the absolute definition of just pure fucking creativity and imagination and finding a way to take what is a very simple concept and story. And I had not really read reviews of this movie because we saw it like when it was like kind of pumping out anyway. But there were some reviews of the movie that actually like really irritated me that were like good reviews, but I was like, I feel like you're missing the point of this. Mm-hmm. Very simple concept, the movie. Super, super, super simple. In terms of like a meaning, in terms of the moral, is super simple. It is a straight up like cherishing life movie, right? Wanting to end suffering, like wanting to like find like the meaning of life and cherishing all that. And like you can get into like what your takeaway is, but like it's a story that's been told in movies forever and it'll be told forever down the line, but it's told in an incredibly unique and different way over multiple different universes. It's funny that it comes out sandwiched in between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange when it did, because it's a non-IP driven multiversal movie. Mm-hmm. But it is just heartwarming. It's heart-wrenching. It's visually stunning to watch. There's some shit in this movie that you watch, you're like, wow, like it blows you away, truly. And I just hope it remains in the zeitgeist through the end of the year, because it's a movie that deserves all the credit recognition that it gets. It's one of those movies where you walk out of it, and I felt this way, and this is going to be different because some people don't like this movie, but it's an A24 movie. Whether you liked Uncut Gems or not, it's one of those movies where you walk out of the theater and you went, holy shit, that was an
exhale. Yeah.
You're like, wow, what the fuck? Like, that took me for a trip. Though this one is significantly less divisive than Uncut Gems. But this movie is everything that I think it should be hyped up for. And I hope people go in with a very open mind and try not to let too much influence them if they haven't seen it yet. It's been out for a while now. It is. I can't say enough good things about it. It truly is. I'd be surprised if there's a better movie this year. Like I really would be. It's a 96 and 100 for me. I don't give out. I know people think Ken Jack and I only give out 95s or above, but we really don't. It's not often.
Very rare.
I don't give out many 95s. So just to see a movie better than this, I hope I would love for there to be a better movie than this year, because that means there's great movies. But yeah, it's up there for me.
Real quick, and Ken Jack, I want you to go next, but like I love the assessment of our rating systems, which is that you guys only give out 95s and above, and I only give lower than 50. like it's like the extremities in terms of like the way that we review movies. I find hilarious.
It is because like if you take, and granted, this is actually skewed because if you go back, the older movies get on our website, to be fair, because there's a lot to do. We do it manually. The older movies get, like, there are years that we really only pulled the good movies. So it skews up. If you average out mine and Ken Jack scores, like all 5,000 movies, it's like right at like a 50. It's like maybe like 53, 54. But again, that's skewed because there's just some years where it's like, we don't have any bad movies.
You don't want us to like go to 1945 and pull out like Mr. Jenkins Jalopy, a movie that 20 people saw.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I brought that up in the like blog that I wrote about movies from 2008 where like I just remember those movies fondly. Now I'm not going to do a deep dive and watch like I don't know what's a fucking random like Stop Loss or some random 2008 movie just because I have great memories of that year. So like I don't
like we post like our social team, Robbie and Goochman, they've been posting a lot of like anniversary posts for movies. They've been doing great, and they post
so funny the responses every time.
And it cracks me up. And like I've learned to not get mad about it, but I can't not laugh at it. You gotta at least somebody to laugh at it because then someone's like, "Dude, they only post good movies," and I'm like, "The fuck do you want us to post? Do you want us to post the movies we don't like?"
Yeah, it's the 14th anniversary of the Love Guru.
Trust me,
like
I watched The Silk Road like 10 times. I love a good bad movie, but what do you mean to post? Like you want us to post like the 50s out of 100? Like why would you want us to post that? Yeah. So anyway, that's Ken Jack. You saw it first. I assume your opinion hasn't changed at all on this movie.
I just went to go look at what my lowest rated movies from 2008 were. Disaster Movie 0. Beer for My Horses 1, Meet the Spartans 1, and The Happening 1. All
Disaster
very bad
movies. Bars coming out in the same year is that's insane.
But no, that was the height of the Friedberg and Seltzer sensation from post Scary Movie. But the thing is, I never saw Beer for My Horses. But three of those
it's
movies,
Toby Keith and Ted Nugent. It's a classic.
I figured, but 3 of those 4 movies. That's the reason I love that year. They are fascinating in how awful they are. Like they're so reflections of their time and a reflection of those directors. And at least Disaster Artist bombed. Meet the Spartans, I remember doing well. I remember back on spill.com website I used to go to. I think it opened in 2008. I think it was I'll give you the fucking date. I think it was January 25th. Could be wrong. Of 2008. And I think it beat out Rambo and Cloverfield in its second
time capsule
and a few other movies, and people were like, "What the hell? Like this movie's garbage." But yeah, at least they were like fascinating in how awful they were.
Man, there's some real bad ones too. Meet Dave. Oh, like fucking.
I forgot
about like you mentioned before. These are tough.
There should be a president of movies, and every beginning of the year, he or she decides what can get released. Because if I was the president of movies and they were like, "Hey, here's Disaster Movie and here's Meet the Spartans," like you got to pick one.
Nope,
you only get one. You can't release both. Well, you got it's one or the other.
But the thing is, those movies were made so cheaply that they couldn't.
Oh, Disaster Movie! Do you remember what the Iron Man Disaster Movie looks like? It's literally
right.
It's like a Times Square guy.
Yeah, and then he's also in it for 2 seconds because a cow falls on his head. Like that's the extent of the joke. The other. And Ken Jack, I'll let you get to your review. I'm sorry, but
I love talking movies.
The other movie from 2008 that always stands out to me is Babylon AD.
Oh, sick movie, fucking Vin Diesel, right?
That was like the last Vin Diesel movie before he's like, I gotta go back to this Fast and Furious shit, don't I? Because he did Triple X and he did what was the one he did in between that I can't remember?
Well, like Riddick.
Oh, Riddick, of course, yeah, Chronicles of Riddick, and then he did. Babylon AD, which is like not a terrible looking movie, but just so absurd. I think I remember the original cut for that movie was like 4 hours, and they cut it down to like 95 minutes, and it's just garbage. But even I don't know. Again, a lot of it's nostalgia, but I just remember being like at that age and being like, there's a charm to this. I mean, even if they're awful,
yeah. All right, yeah. So anyway, back to Everything Everywhere.
Yeah, sorry.
This is a long digression, but anytime I hear like I want to go look at like a year of movies, I just got to do it. But yeah, I agree with a lot what Jeff said, and I think that one of the things about going into this movie is like I really didn't know anything about what was going to go on, because like we watched the trailer for it, it's like impossible to digest, like or figure out what exactly was going to happen in the movie. But I think that it essentially uses the concept of the multiverse to explore multiple storylines, but also multiple genres, and I think that execution is so goddamn cool, because it ended up being like equal parts comedy, family drama, martial arts, sci-fi, action, philosophical. It was like fucking a Nietzsche movie, basically, like fantasy, like arts, like every single genre and more, like all in one. And it's like to the point where it's like basically not definable. And I think that like where you have a lot of other movies that try to blend even just like 2 or 3 genres, they can't do it. This blended like a trillion genres and did it perfectly. Like it was flawless in its execution of that, in my opinion. And I think that for me, there's 3 really huge selling points. And I remember I outlined this in my blog as well. And the first one is that the comedy. I think this movie had some of the best humor of any movie I've seen in a very long time. And like for whatever reason, and we've talked about this on this show a lot, like a lot of comedy writing is really migrated over to TV. Like it just, there's not really a huge market for that sort of like really good comedy writing in movies. And I think that like this movie made me laugh so much harder than any recent movie I can even imagine. And then I think the original storyline, like if you're one of those people out there that's saying, oh, Hollywood only makes the franchises, they only make remakes, they only make reboots, like, dude, this is the movie you should be watching. It's fucking so original. It's insane. And like it's not connected to anything. It's independent. It's like everything about it is just it's so remarkable. And I think that what do you call it? If you're one of those people that want something more original, if you support movies like this with your wallet, Hollywood's going to make more of them. A24, like it's their highest grossing movie of all time for a reason. Like it's, and like that's when you get more support of or production companies or distributors, whatever, you get like more financial support for those sorts of movies, more of them get made. And then lastly, I think the third act of this movie is like, it is really just such an emotional ride. And like, not to make it sound too corny, but it makes you like think about your spot in like the universe and all that. There's like a couple lines in it that make me like tear up for sure. I think Ke Huy Quan's delivery of like, in another life, I would have loved to just do taxes with you, like that. Like those lines they crushed me. And I think that his back and forth and his chemistry with Michelle Yeoh was awesome. I think Stephanie Sue was so great as the Jabuki or what was it? Not Jabuki. What was it? Shoot, I forget. But like all those bits between that grouping was amazing. And like also the side characters that they had throughout it, like Rakakuni and that guy, like the martial artist that put the dildos up their butts, like all those guys, like every single person had like a tiny part to play and they played it perfectly. Oh, and the guy from fucking I Think You Should Leave, the guy who played like the Santa character was in it randomly. James Hong, obviously, like
holy fuck. So I rewatched it today because I felt like I needed to.
Yeah.
That was killing me. I'm like, who the fuck is that again?
Yeah.
As
Crashmore, Detective Crashmore, that was it. But like every guy had like just such a great role to play in this. Like again, like James Hong, one of the best actors that finally just got recognized as a star in Hollywood, even though he has like 500 acting credits. I think everyone had such great moments. I think specifically that third act just goddamn crushed me so bad, and that would be my biggest selling point. Like if you're someone who for some reason hasn't seen it yet, I know it's coming out. I think it's on digital demand now, but you can also like rent it.
I don't think it is yet.
It's okay. Well, it's coming soon. I know I pre-ordered the Blu-ray because I was like, I want that for my collection ASAP. But like once you can watch it, I would highly recommend watching it. It's my favorite movie this year, and I don't really see anything topping it. It's a 97 out of 100 for me. It's a goddamn near perfect movie.
This is always the hard part. This is a really good movie. It's an exceptionally well-made movie. And, I'm interested to know your guys' kind of perspective on this. I think the best director nomination at the Oscars kind of sucks sometimes because I think what they do is they just take the 5 best movies of the year and say, oh, by the way, these are just the 5 best directors. The 2 guys that directed this, I would be shocked if by the end of the year, I don't think that they're one of the 5 best in terms of a best direction nomination. This movie is original. It's unique. It looks beautiful. I love the acting. Have these guys direct a superhero movie because the action and like the combat in this, I think it's fluid. I think it's beautiful. And the movie's kind
They
of
did a superhero movie. It's called Swiss Army Man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. the untold story of the greatest superhero ever, Swiss Army Man. But no, I think that it is so well directed, beautifully acted, beautifully shot. The movie's kind of out of theaters now, but had we have reviewed it earlier, I would have recommended seeing it in theaters. So absolutely, like, completely understand your guys' viewpoint there. And this thing is going to be on a lot of top 10 lists. And, I actually think it came out so early, but the push has been so strong and the longevity has been so strong. I do think this is going to stick and get a fair amount of Academy awards.
There's a lot of like prestige slop coming out this year. That's my concern with it, but continue. We'll talk about this in a minute because I'm going to pull up a list, but yeah.
True. I don't know if it'll win anything, but I do think it'll get a fair amount of recognition, at least in terms of nominations. So really, basically 95% of what you guys agreed with, or what you guys said I agree with about this movie. I have two big problems with it. One, and it's an issue I have this issue with like every movie, and I hate it. Or not, not hate it, but I feel like it's maudlin just how consistent I am with this. I thought the movie dragged, man. Holy shit. This thing was moving good for the first hour, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And then the final 45 minutes is just multiverse to multiverse to multiverse. So much repetition, in my opinion, from one action sequence to the other. But the big problem I had, because we're in full spoiler territory here, right, Jeff? Like, yeah, I mean, we've been around for a minute. I didn't get the emotional resonance out of this movie that you guys did. And a movie that it reminded me of a little bit, just in the fact that it was totally unique, original, but also a little bit hollow, was The Fifth Element, where you get to the end of The Fifth Element, which is, and this movie is better than that, by the way. And it's like, oh, but the fifth element is love. And you're like, oh, fuck off. And like, you get to the end of this and the whole message of like, well, we just need to love each other more. I'm like, I appreciated what they were going for, but it did not land for me completely. I think that this is a rock solid movie. I think, no pun intended, considering one of the multiverse sequences in which two rocks talk to each other. I think it's a really good movie. I think that audiences will enjoy it. I think by the end of the year, many people will view it as one of the best films of the year. But it's shit. My rating system is so fucked. Look, it's a 72 for me, but guys, I recommend this. Like, I really, really do enjoy this film. Like,
I can hear the LCB Reddit's fucking typing up right now. They're getting carpal tunnel. They're typing so fast.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Yeah, I think the emotional part is, I don't know. I guess, man, that it's different for everyone.
And dude, again, that is so personal taste, like completely. Like, yes. When we reviewed West Side Story, and there were people who were like, I can't believe Castellani loved this much. Well, it's a remake of a movie I grew up on and a story I grew up on. So when you get to the end, like, of course I'm going to cry.
I get the movie 95. Speaking of getting out 95s.
That's fair. But like, okay. And we're going to get, that's why tonight's draft is perfect, because the movies that move me and make me emotional and make me cry it's weird. Like, I cried like 4 times during the Batman. That's not normal, but I love Batman. And so I have a personal attachment to it. And so when Robert Pattinson went Thursday, October 31st in the Batman voice, yeah, I fucking got tears in my eyes. I'm weird when it comes to that stuff. Really good movie. I recommend it. I really do recommend it to everyone. And beyond that, you brought it up, Ken Jack. If we want to push movies forward, you got to recommend movies like this. Like, this is a totally unique, totally original idea with great acting, great good storytelling, just with a few issues here and there that bothered me that lowered my ratings, but solid film. I really recommend it. And I'm truly glad that you guys and so many other people have gotten the enjoyment out of it that they have. It's really well made.
Yeah, there's so many things that are tackled in it that like I said, are normal things that are tackled in movies. And there's different things you can pull out of it. Like I've seen video essays and thoughts where they, focuses on, dread and suffering. I've read things that focus on the cherishing of life, mental illness. Like, it pulls in a lot of various things. And like, again, in simple ways, like when it's all said and done, you can simply see how it wraps and like what the movie's trying to tell you, where they're trying to tug on your heartstrings with family and again, accepting the life that's ahead. Like there is a lot of that. It's just wrapped up in a very complex way, on purpose, might I add. Look at the title of the movie. Like, the movie is a wacky title on purpose. That's the. By the way, I reference it reviews. Like, I've seen some that are like I did see a review. It's like, oh, it's such simple themes that we've seen, but why done in such a confusing way? It's like, I don't know, because maybe they wanted to do it differently. Like, and then we fucking yell about every 5 minutes about movies. Like, it's like, it's intentionally crazy. Like, it's not shy about that, which is why I love it. I love that it's unapologetically chaotic, which is again why I like Uncut Gems. Significantly different movie.
Jamie Lee Curtis turns into a WWE wrestler and throws something through a wall. How do you not at that point realize
they've got
what's
fucking
happening?
hot dog fingers? Like, it just butt plugs.
The hot dog fingers universe.
By the way, Ratatouille, by the way, is
so
an all-time voiced by Randy Newman, which is it's a Pixar reference within a Pixar reference. It's fucking incredible. It's so perfect. Even like there's so much like beautiful like symbolism in the movie, whether like the contrast of the everything bagel, right, of this black sphere with a white circle in the middle, but then the opposite end of the spectrum being the googly eye, right? Circle, white circle, black in the middle. Like, it's got and there's so like the circle symbolism, and like I've watched videos that talk about like Buddhism relations to it. Like, there's just so many like gorgeous themes with it, but done in such a wild, fun, different, and wacky way. And you can pull whatever you want out of it, because it's done that way intentionally. And there's but I think in the end, there's almost like a freeing thing. Like you said, Kendrick, you watch this and you watch it and you think about your place, right? And whether it's your place with mental health, with family, with job, like it's I don't know. Like, I think it just beautifully opens that up. But again, why it's so good, plenty of movies have done that. Plenty of movies make you think about things and question things, but it's because it's done in such a fucking fun and wild way. And that's just, I don't know. It's one of those movies you see it, at least for me, for what I like, and you go, that's why I go see movies, like, for shit like that. Like, I fucking love Marvel. I love Star Wars. I love all that. I'd rather see that 100 out of 100 times over any franchise movie. Maybe not Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning, or Dune Part 2. But other than those two, like that truly is like. This is one of the movies that you're like, holy shit! Like, this is the definition of like creativity and just like being different. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, and like it's one of those movies where I think that as much as everyone has like an individual experience with it, I think there is also like the universal sort of message to it, which is like every human being on Earth has had the thoughts like, well, what if my life could have gone this way? What if I did this here? What if I studied more for this test? What if I got into this college? What if I did this? Everyone on Earth has like those thoughts, like if their life could have been in a better spot than where they are now. And I think that one of the great messages from this movie is just like to slow down and appreciate where you are instead of lamenting where you're not. And like I think that they do a great job of making the Michelle Yeoh of that universe like. And they explained it very early on, like, yeah, you're the worst one. You're the worst one in all the multiverses. You are actually the worst one. And so there's nowhere lower for you to go. And like, but then her, the lowest of the low, realizing that she can stop and appreciate her spot in the universe, like that is, I think that's a very good message. And it's one that like, it is, I think that is one of the more universal feelings from this that I don't think a lot of movies have really gotten a chance to touch on, like, and there's a lot to do like time travel or like things adjacent to the multiverse, but I think that this one maybe more than any other movie really managed to like tug on that emotion, which I thought was very unique. It's a super unique experience that I don't think I've ever gotten from a movie before.
Yeah, because it is funny because like how many like I now that I'm saying it, I can't fucking think of like I can't think of a good comp off the top of my head, but like dealing with dread, right? Dread of life, of yourself, of like your family, of your situation, like to do it by putting one character in many worlds and multiple, because like Joy in the movie, her daughter, like also deals with it, just on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Like that's where they kind of contrast. It is like it's funny because it's super fucking complex, but it's kind of simple when you just boil it down. Like it's not like breaking down Tenet, right? Like Tenet's complex, and you kind of either get it, and you kind of don't. And it's not even like it's not like I'll say this. This is mean. People are gonna like this comment. if you don't get Inception, I think you're kind of dumb. Like, I think Inception is pretty simple. If you just pay attention and listen for like if you just pay attention, it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Interstellar, that's a little more complex, but like Inception is one of those for a while. We're like, that's the mind fuck movie, which it is. It's a mind fuck. When you think about it, it's very easy to understand. Tenet, I would not say is the Tenet's a little.
No. Tenet, Ken Jack, you brought up Tenet is the biggest heat check, like of
it's such a heat check.
Movies.
Which again, I liked. I said it right when you reviewed it. I said I don't know why, but I got it right away. And when the movie ended, that my first thought wasn't even that I liked it. I went, I don't know how I understood that, but I did. That makes complete sense. And like, I even looked it up and like, did I even understand that the way it was supposed to be understood? Like, I'm not even sure. But this one is complex. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But like, it is simple when it boils down to it. Like you said, Ken, like it's you're taking simple themes that have been explored in movies many times before, but you're doing it in such. It's like almost a cheat code. Like it is. It's a cheat code. Like instead of like flushing it out through like long dialogue and like tons and tons of like hidden symbolism, like it's all right there. And there's some symbolism, like I mentioned, like the circles and stuff. But like in terms of like what is happening, it is like it's a cheat code. It's using like very like point A to point B to point C, D, and like it follows through all of that through by the use of multiverse and the same character in different ways. And I just think that's I think that's fucking awesome. It's rad. More of this shit.
So many good performances too. Even like not even beyond like Wayne or rather Ke Kwan and Stephanie Sue and Michelle Yeoh, obviously the big three, amazing. But like Jamie Lee Curtis crushed this movie.
Yes,
she was so fucking funny in this. Like Jenny Slate in like her limited screen time, very very funny. All of them were like they were just the entire cast, top to bottom, was so fucking good. And like everyone had a part to play and they crushed it. Sound design really, especially towards like the bagel.
And maybe this is the Tim and Eric fan in me, but him eating the chapstick before the fanny pack fight, it just like there's a sound and there's like it's awesome. It's
you know what's one thing I wanted to bring up is we all saw, and Jeff, you weren't on for this episode. We all saw Jackass Forever. You did see it, right, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, and that movie has actual real grotesque mutilation to people's bodies, and yet the most I cringed in terms of pain at a movie this year was the fucking paper cut sequence in this movie.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh shit, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Like I watched a bull run over Johnny Knoxville and almost kill him. Essentially, like he admitted he wasn't able to come for like 2 years because of that sequence, and yet that was the moment. Like, that's so brutal. That's so brutal. It's weird.
Yep.
Yeah.
That all the unlikely things that they had to do were just like, I think that was another great element of it, trying to find out what the most unlikely thing they could have possibly done in that moment was. Man, I just like, I'm so happy I'm getting the Blu-ray in it relatively soon because I already want to watch it again. And like, it's just one of those things where like, I watched it twice in back-to-back days and when it was in theaters, and both times it hit the exact same. And I think that's just such a testament to how good of a movie it was. And like, it's one of those movies. It's almost a hard movie to digest or to not criticize, but like talk about, because there's so many different scenes and so many different moments where like I would want to call attention to it. Like we only got to talk second. The rock sequence was so good. Like that's such a heartwarming moment. Like they're sitting there talking about the universe and they're like, yeah, most universes are like this. It's actually way better. Like where humans are.
Right. Like we're like in that moment, she thinks this is the best universe because there's nothing to it. Right. It's like,
yeah. Like there's beauty to that, man. And like, there's like all of that wrapping up towards the end is just, man, it's just, I was just so impressed with this movie from top to bottom.
You know what some of the moments reminded me of stylistically? Edgar Wright stylistically.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, like some even like the paper cut, like when they're like he's eating various things. Like I don't know what it is. It's like it's the way it, I think, kind of cuts to those moments and the way your eyes are drawn to certain things happening. Like there's nothing when he's explaining what they're gonna do in Shaun of the Dead, and like they just show like the ears being fit. Like I love Edgar Wright when he's like clicking, and Baby Driver's a lot of it too. Like there's just certain little ways that he cuts scenes together, and there's a little bit of like that here. Not the saying that they're like emulating Edgar Wright, but like some of that reminded me of it. And when that's done with like action and stuff, it's always tasty. It's fun.
A lot of those quick pans and quick trucks or whatever you call them, and then a couple tilts.
I mean, this is high up there. This is for myself and Ken Jack. This is up there with our obviously our number one of the year. Ken Jack I have this one at number 1, the Batman number 2, then Top Gun Maverick. It's only the 3 that have hit 90 so far. X, I like them Bear Boy to Mass Tell a lot. The Northman goes all of 89. And then for Kenjack, I think you have 4 90s this year.
I think I have Northman at 90.
5. Yeah, you have Northman and X at 90, Batman 91, Top Gun Maverick 93, Everything Everywhere All at Once 97.
And I have 3, which is good, really good for me. I
This early in the year too. Don't forget, like we're not at the period where the great movies are supposed to be out yet.
Last year. I think all of last year I had 2 90s. I got 3 already this year. I got Jackass, which that was a pure enjoyment thing. That movie made me laugh so fucking hard. The Batman and Top Gun. So this year, for all my cynicism, this year has already been a substantially better year to me than all. Get
the cynicism up because we're doing Jurassic World Dominion next week.
Yep.